help that many people and to bring awareness to what was happening. That's another big problem we have with crypto, is we have all this wealth, we have this capacity to do good things, but a lot of us just don't take the time to do that. So of course, I'm going to support them. I'm not going to be able to vote for them because, you know, it's a state. But I advocate for my audience of over 850,000 locally to repose, to donate, to vote, to do whatever it takes. I feel very passionately about crypto as a whole. I think it has the power to really transform lives. There's a lot of things that are happening. And I think that if we can work on the wealth gap that was created by the public servants and all their bullshit, that it can actually bring a lot of positivity to people from all different walks of life. And I'm living for it. Without crypto, I wouldn't have been able to save a local nonprofit in my neighborhood. I wouldn't have been able to get out of some of the situations that I've been in. And just to be able to be in the same room with John and to call him a friend and somebody that I actually admire. And I don't give that to a lot of people because a lot of people are shit. It's an absolute honor to see all these people coming together and showing up for John. And even the people that weren't able to make, just all of the reposts and the donations, whether you can or not, it does mean a lot. It really, really does. And without people like John that are willing to step up and put their face out there, their name out there, and fight against this atrocious behavior, we're not going to have liberty in America. We're not going to have a place that we can, the crypto space, we're not going to have this space that we can pass down to our children, pass down to future generations. So again, thank you, John, so much for all you do. Thank you for fighting for me. Thank you for fighting for all the other dogs. You've actually given me a lot more hope to see people do good and be completely selfless. And thank you to all of you for being here and supporting my friend.
Now I'm going to bring up, he's not a good lawyer, so he's a great lawyer, and he's also my lawyer. Let's give it up for David Silver.
I can't really thank you, and I don't know how the call went. It was absolutely spectacular. So I'm going to simply say, and be really quick about this. A lot of things are going on in the world today. It's about opposites. People say they are something. People pretend to be something, and there's just a lack of authenticity in the world. And everything Elizabeth Warren stands for is the opposite of authenticity. She claims to be a consumer advocate. She's not. John has gone out there the last few years and shown with what he's done as a consumer advocate. She goes out there and talks about world politics as being the police of the world for good, but she does the opposite of that. John's dedicated his life to actually helping people out of the trenches. These are critical issues that are so important, and the fact that it revolves, and for most of us, I mean, I'm a Samson. Well, at the end of the day, this is going to be a revolution of young voters, people who don't actually vote. People like John are going to come in. Elizabeth Warren's numbers have been going down for years. Her last campaigns, they were within a margin of error of victory. Now's the time that people can come in, support people like John, who are outsiders coming in, trying to do what's right. And that's the most important thing, because at the end of the day, protecting consumers, protecting America, and doing just the common sense right thing is something that benefits all of us. I really hope to get John in. Thank you very much for your service.
All right. Next, very handsome young lawyer who I worked with for many years. My law partner, and he's my friend, Daniel Payne.
Thank you, James. I'm going to leave with the introduction. He's not a good lawyer. He's going to stop right there for me. Hey, I'm a crypto attorney. I also am a senior fellow at the International Congress of Blockchain Legal Advisors. And I got to know John last year because we decided to give out an award called the Defender of Freedom Award, which sounds really cool. The award looks even cooler. It's an eagle with its wings up.
And John loves it so much, it's in the back of some of the streams he does. So when you are watching John streaming things, look in the back and see if you see that eagle. We gave John the Defender of Freedom Award because he earned it. And I heard him talking in Consensus today. He's not a pro-crypto guy, he's a pro-freedom guy. It's exactly what we saw last year, why we decided to give him the award. And we're confident, and everybody in this room is confident, that the people of Massachusetts are going to give him the Defender of Freedom Award called the U.S. Senate seat. And John, we're so excited to see what you do in the Senate on behalf of the people.
Then I reached out, for another co-host. I don't know if I can get this guy. And I reached out to him and he said yes. He said, I love him. Of course I'll be there. You know him. You love him. He's the wolf of Wall Street. Okay.
One thing that's the thing that of all these is it's all that everybody's following the beat. It's absolutely true. That being in a room of this many lawyers right have to call for help. I think it's what it's like to be in crypto. And John, actually one of them on numerous occasions, guys. I don't want to waste your time. I enjoy drinking with you more than I enjoy speaking. The bottom line is, as I said recently in an interview with John on the street, we have an opportunity to do two great things here. One is to support a good friend, someone that we all love, someone who's been a fierce advocate for a little guy, but also for our industry, selfishly. But second, we get to take out the absolute worst politician on planet Earth. Is the absolute mistake against not only the crypto industry, but largely against freedom, and actually against the little guy who she purports to support, and of course, against anti-tax, against wealth, against capitalism. I'm not even a political person, to be honest. This woman is just the biggest problem. You think a presidential election is important? This election is far more important than you is elected as president. And all of the policy coming out of the White House towards our industry. It's time for her to go down, and he's the man to do it. That's all I got.
All right. Okay. Here. So I get two questions here that I have supporting this guy, John Deaton. First question is, why are you supporting John Deaton? My answer is, I've got two reasons. The names are Ryan, Robert, Murphy, my two sons back there in the back. The handsome ones who look like their mom. Those guys, raise your hands, guys. Because I want them have the benefit of the freedoms and opportunities that I have in my life to make something of myself and not have the government decide everything for me, but put it on me and have the freedom to succeed or fail on my own merits. That's what I want for my sons, and this is the guy who I know will fight for. Whereas there are a lot of politicians who want the government to control everything. They control our destiny. When you control your financial life, you're controlling really everything. No longer free. You can't spend the money you earn in a way that you decide is best for your family. That's why I'm supporting John Deaton, Ryan and Robert Murphy, two guys I love. The second thing is, question I get is, hey, John, and this guy went, I mean, Elizabeth Warren, it's a Democratic state. If you were at Consensus yesterday, Tom Farley used to be president of the New York Stock Exchange, made a really great point. He said, Elizabeth Warren has chosen a lane, and she has stuck to it day in and day out for 12 years. And that lane is or government control. John Deaton also has a lane. His lane is called freedom. So on November 5th in Massachusetts, they're going to make a decision between more government control or freedom. And I'm confident what they're going to decide because they've already decided this exact question 250 years ago. They led this country to its independence from government control from a faraway remote government that was not responsive to their needs. They chose freedom. That is in their nature. That is in the nature of people in Massachusetts, and they're going to get it right. The other thing I would say is, why I'm confident is my lovely wife, Karen, right here. Years ago, we're not political people. I hate politics. Raise your hand if you hate politics. There are no politics left. We hate politics. We were at a fundraiser a long time ago, and it was put on by this governor, a state nobody ever cared about or heard about, and he was running against an unbeatable opponent. And they laughed at it. The fundraiser we went to, there were 10 at this fundraiser. And a funny thing happened. That fundraiser was in 1991. The governor was named Bill Clinton. And he beat George Bush when people said this man has done the impossible his entire life. He fought his way out of the toughest neighborhood in Detroit. You haven't read his book yet. You need to stop what you're doing in your life and read his book. It will inspire you in a way that you haven't been inspired in a long, long time. And so, you didn't come here to listen to me. You came here to listen to this gentleman. And Layla, beautiful, beautiful dress. He's fighting for all of us. And we owe him something for that. He's put himself out there. He's put himself in the arena. It isn't pleasant there. They're going to come after him. And it's going to be good. But he can stand up to it because he stood up to it. So we stop talking. I love this guy. I could talk for a long time. But so let me introduce him. United States Marine Corps Major. He is the boot stamp warrior, and he's also the next senator for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
All right, let me tell you a couple things. First of all, thank you so much to Jay, David, to Wendy, and to Scott. It means everything to me. Let me tell you why I got into this. Look, some of you know who I am. You know that I wrote a book called Food Stamp Warrior. I do come from a terrible place called Highland Park, Detroit. I was born in generational poverty. No one in my family graduated high school for generations. And I was subject to a lot of violence. That's what my mother used to have when I was 6. My high school, I had the first day of high school, I had a 38 shoved in my mouth with a hammer cocked. So just like everyone else, I was a high school dropout for almost 4 months. My mother found me crying, and she put her arms around me. She said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Mom, I want to go to college, and I have to graduate high school." And my mother, God bless her, I love her to death. She's my hero, trust me. But she was born into generational poverty, and she put her arms around me and she said, "Son, I'm sorry, that's just not people like us." And at 14, I decided that I was going to break that cycle of poverty, and I was going to break the cycle of dead and all of those things. And so I found a high school. They took pity on me, but made me earn it. Said, "You're going to maintain the 3-5, you're going to play 2 sports, and you're going to be active in the church, And we'll cut the tuition in half, cut it from 1,400 to 700. At 14 years old, I started 18-hour days. And I caught a public bus from Detroit to the suburbs. I went to Deaton Catholic High School, graduated high school, graduated college in Eastern Michigan, made myself to Boston. And what's ironic is I realized that I'm an American dream. I really am. And my life represents everything that's possible in a great country. If you have an opportunity and you're willing to work for it. So I did, because my mother suggested that I do what my siblings did. Work until you're 17, she'll sign the papers to join the military. That's your way out of the hood. I didn't want that, but ironically, in law school, I joined the United States Marine Corps because I got so overwhelmed with pride. And if I was going to go in the service, I was going to go in the toughest service there is, become a Marine. And so, and for the last 22 years after I got in the Marine Corps, I've been representing people with mesothelioma and lung cancer, insurance companies, and major corporations. And let me tell you that people say you can't do stuff. I love that. You can't beat more. Let me tell you something. I talk about my book, how I was raped for a period of over 2 years by a serial child rapist in the neighborhood. And he said to me, and I write about it in the book, he said to me, he laughed at me, because I only had one conversation with him the entire period of 2 years. It happened over 8 to a dozen times. To be honest, I couldn't tell you the exact number. And he laughed and said, "You're not going to go to college. You're going to be a junkie when you're going to be in prison, just like everyone else in that neighborhood." And proved him wrong. They said you wouldn't graduate high school, and I proved them wrong. Then, when I joined the Marine Corps, I had a broken right wrist. He said, "You will not pass Marine Corps training with a broken navicular bone in your right wrist." I did, and I proved them wrong. When I was in law school, I had to have chemotherapy because I had testicular cancer. And they said, you can't work 30 hours and have chemo treatment and pass first year of law school. And I proved them wrong. So when we come to this race, I got in the race because I am the American dream and I see it dying. I don't recognize the country anymore. And you see that 5-year-old that's on the stage that's disappointed that she got a little shot. And so we have immigration issues like the border, we have debt crisis, and we have opioid crisis, and we have foreign wars. All these things are happening in the country, but the greatest crisis is the crisis of leadership in Washington, D.C. So these career politicians like Senator Warren, all they do is fuel the division among us to maintain and keep power. And that has to change. When I look at the Senate, I don't see someone that's overcome poverty, that struggling to pay his bills, that knows what it's like to be 40 years old. And be like, damn, I can't get ahead. I'm doing everything right. I'm making the right choices, but it's still struggling. I know what that feels like. And I think it's time that the Senate has someone like that representing regular people. And so I made a few calls and I said, I'll get this race. 3 things happen. I'm going to talk about how I win it. Because that's the ultimate question. One, could I win the primary, or is it going to be this contested issue? And it's not. I know there's someone out there, trust me, I'm no winter primary. You're looking at Republican nominee in the I'm saying Republican nominee. And number 2 was, could I find a team? Because I've never done this before. Experience is the greatest teacher in life, and I had none at running for public office. So could I find a team? And I found former Governor Charlie Baker's campaign manager, Jim Conroy, and I reached out to him. I said, listen, I think they're taking on more. He goes, your first time out the gate, huh? That's if you want to go up against. Okay, that's interesting. That's an uphill battle, blah, blah, all that. I said, yes. I said, but before you do that, I need you to read this book called Food Stamp Warrior. Because you're only going to have 1 or 2 extremes. In the book, I call it my confession, my exorcism. I talk about how I didn't deal with the rapes and stuff like that, the violence, because I was so dedicated to overcoming poverty. I was so dedicated to being a good father, unlike my father, that then I did it. I had money and I had all that. All of a sudden, that trauma started reaching out to me. my kids were in college, before Layla was born. You know, wasn't everything it's cracked up to. So the book's about not letting that happen to you. And so I said to him, but I admit to a lot of shit in that book. And things have happened. My best friend dying in a drive-by in my arms, and how I shot at the people that were backing up to finish the job, things like that. And I said, you'll read this and you'll come up with one of the two things. You'll either say, dude, you have to stay out of politics, you got too much drama. Or you're going to be like, we need someone like you in public service. And Conroy, as his name, came back and he said, John, if every voter in Massachusetts read your book, you are guaranteed to be the next U.S. Senator. And he goes, that's possible. He said, that's what people listen, but you know, this is what we are doing. He's all in. And then I got somebody that Deaton, under the team, they used to work for Governor Baker, Republican governor, successful in Massachusetts. So I had the team. And then the third thing was, could I do some fundraising? I can't outraise her, but can I get enough to be competitive? Because the race comes down to three things: money, message, work ethic. She can outraise me, she'll never outwork me. I promise you that. She's helping me with the message herself, right? It's writing itself, and so it came down to money. So I reached out and did due diligence, trying to figure out if I could. And then I caught a guy named James Murphy. And I said, James, I gotta talk about something personal. And he goes, sure, to make time. And I said, listen, I'm thinking of doing something, man. And he goes, please tell me you're gonna run against Elizabeth Warren. And I was surprised that he read my mind. And I said, yeah, I'm thinking about it. And then I went to say something, and I wish I would have taped it. It was the greatest motivational speech you've ever heard. John, you have been preparing for this moment your entire life. They're going to come after you. But after what you've been through in life, there's nothing they can do that's going to hurt you, that's going to stop you. You didn't realize you were prepared for this moment. And he went on and on. I got off the phone. I looked at Christy and I said, I have no choice but to run. I can't let that guy down, right? He believes in me so much. And so those three things lined up, and mainly because I knew there'd be people like you, and I can't tell you how grateful I am. But let me tell you, so the other person who knows that I can win is Elizabeth Warren. I won one debate with my campaign. I said, listen, I have this ability to help people get under people's skin so easy. I'm telling you, man, look at what I did the SEC. They're saying they want to throw me in jail and they want to do all this. Like, I just have this knack. And they looked at me and said, she will ignore you until September with no shot at her talking about you. First day, John Deaton announced, the MAGA extreme Republicans have recruited this John Deaton, he's an extremist, and democracy is on the line. And I'm like, oh my God. My liberal daughter, graduate from USC, called me pissed off, right? She's like, how dare her talk about you like that? You're not an extreme person, blah, blah, blah. And so, right from day one, on the biggest day of Massachusetts politics, St. Patrick's Day, where presidents call in, she got up and made a joke about it. And she made a joke with someone else who's the state Senate president. They made a joke about my book, about how for 316 pages I tried to be a tough guy, right? And it felt slight, and I actually tweeted about it. I said, you know, it's too bad you guys missed the message, because the book's about how I'm not a tough guy, how actually I wasn't so tough, that all this trauma crept up on me later in life because I pressed it down. And I'm trying to tell people, don't do that. Don't be like that. And try to address those issues in real time, because it affects you when you don't know. So actually, I'm not that tough. But she uttered my name on that big day, John Deaton. And as I said today, you don't make jokes about how someone has no chance to win if they have no chance to win. That's the jokes. She has said at least 9 emails. We need, for naming me by name, this guy is a serious threat to the seat. We must raise money to defeat him, on and on and on. And so I have her attention. Now let me share a few things with you is mine, and I need your help with this. I know you've donated, and God, I can't tell you how appreciative I am of you. I know times are tough, and I really do appreciate it. But my biggest trouble is piercing this bubble that she can't be me, right? She can be. So you getting that word out and telling other people. So let me just share the path to victory. It's not the widest path to victory. I'm not going to stand up here and BS. It's an uphill, but it's a path. Maybe narrow, but there is a path to the theater. She wouldn't be acting this way about me. Fox Business did a segment already entitled, "Why is Elizabeth Warren so scared of John Deaton?" It's because she sees it, right? She wants to talk about income inequality. Let's do 5 debates on it. It's not a political slogan to me. It's my life. You don't listen to your mother cry at night on the nights you can't eat. And as a mother, she has to put you to bed hungry, and then listen to those cries and experience that humiliation, that shame that she's feeling as a mother. I don't care how much money I got in the bank. I don't care how much Bitcoin I own or whatever. That stays inside here forever. So you want to talk about raising people up? Let's do it, because I don't want to create more dependence. I've been dependent on the government. I want to create independence. I want to show people how to do it like I did. I don't want to be one of the last 4 people out of the ghetto to make it in America. You can't experience what I did and want to be one of the only ones. You want other people to feel the honor, the blessings that you feel. So let's talk about that if you want to, sir. She is, so the poll came out. If former Governor Charlie Baker were running in this race as a Republican in Massachusetts, it's not close. 49% to 34. You can Google it. He crushes them. Now, that doesn't directly translate to me. I'm not saying it does. I'm not Governor Baker. I don't have that kind of name recognition. But it shows you how vulnerable she is to the right candidate. 41% approval rate. It's terrible. She ran for president. Remember, she took 3rd place. She couldn't even take 2nd in Massachusetts. She's not liked. 3rd place. A poll came out when I announced 57% of readers said she's vulnerable to Deaton. Okay? Now, another thing, Sherry, I have a team, I guess, our Governor Charlie Baker team behind me. That's another reason that I'm going to win. We did internal polling. I'm going to share with you. All we did was ask 2 fair questions. Assume Elizabeth Warren's running, and here are her favorables. We didn't even write the disfavorables. And assume a Republican, centrist, common sense, nonpartisan person with Marine Corps experience, and just did some of my bio. With me doing no work, showed me only 11 points down. You have no idea how good that is. Like, I was waiting for, I literally was never going to have time. I did the stories from the 25 to 27, right? And so it just goes to show you. So when you hear people say it can't be done, or they don't know what they're talking about, all right? Is it an uphill battle? 100%. All right, do I need things to line up in order to defeat her? 100%. If those things don't line up, then I won't win. If they line up, I'm going to win. All right, and so, you know, here's to give you an example. I was on Patrick Bet David. If Patrick Bet David reads my book, he brings me back on. He's good friends with Joe Rogan. Maybe that's the exposure I get, and we go viral. Right? There's all kinds of things that can happen if Elon Musk gets involved. Right? Just the eyeballs from that could help. And so this is what I've been told by the National Party. Raise enough money, be competitive. We see a poll, John, that shows you 5, 6 points down. Money's not going to be a problem, because then the snake can be killed by chopping off the head, and money will flow, because then people will get in. But I need to get there. And if it weren't for people like you in this room, I wouldn't have a chance. See, it doesn't matter how much I want to fight for freedom. It doesn't matter how much hard I'm willing to work. If I don't have people like you to help me get to that point, then I'm not gonna get there. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I'm telling you right now, everyone in this room will be at the victory party because we're gonna make history. This will be one of the top 10 greatest political upsets in American history. They don't see this coming, and we're coming. And that's, I want to share that with you. So thank you so much for being here. I don't see my daughter. She was supposed to show up. I think we're giving up, but thank you so much. It really means a lot.
You know what I mean? He's gonna be better for the good of the doctors, awesome. People who are trying to survive on food stamps. And this is never happened. The vote of the Harvard faculty lounge to Elizabeth Warren, but everybody else is up for grabs. Thank you all so much for coming. There's one thing, John is a fighter. You can see why I support him. I can see why all of you support him. There's one thing he's really not good at, and that's asking for money. So there's a website. I know all of you contributed again. You can do whatever you can. Deaton.com. It's really important. It's for freedom. And he's a politician. He's got to get started.
Listen, it's true. But I do want to share a story with you real quick that touched me. I would not have put in 500 grand of my own money to start this. I needed to do that to build the infrastructure. I wouldn't do that if I couldn't win. Trust me. And I always told my daughters, you have to prove you believe in yourself before you can ask people to believe in you. And then I went to an event, and it wasn't a fundraiser. It was just a political event. People were talking, and they asked me to speak. There was only about 36 voters there, but I got up and I gave like a 10-minute speech. They asked questions. And an 83-year-old woman standing, raised her hand. I mean, she's maybe 4'11", 90 pounds. She asked me the toughest questions of the night. And I don't even know if I answered the way she wanted. I was honest. I'm walking out the door, and she comes up to me. And she says, I want to talk to you, I want to shake your hand. And she said, I've never met anyone that's just that transparent and that's honest. And I really, really think you can win, John. And thank you. And she handed me a $50 check. I wasn't asking for it. And she said these words. She said, I wish I could give more, but I'm on fixed income on Social Security. And Massachusetts is the second most expensive state in the country after Hawaii. California sometimes beats us out, but it goes 2 or 3. And I knew she would feel that $50, especially with grocery prices in Massachusetts. And so I'm trying to give her $50 back. And I'm like, listen, you can call people on the phone for me. You can do things to help me, but I really knew she was going to experience that $50. And she stopped me and she pushed it back and she said, no, I want to be able to say I made a sacrifice to improve my country. And I get a little emotional about it because that night I thought of Sandy and I went home and I wrote another $500,000 check for my own campaign. So I put in $1 million. And I wouldn't do that. I can't self-fund the entire thing. I'm not that wealthy. Obviously, I don't need it, right? But I believe that I can win. And I'm sharing that with you because I got to get better at asking for help to be a better candidate. So I'm asking you to think about Sandy when you think about donating.
Wendy, you know?
All right, we are limited. Yes, we're good. Hey, my name is Player One Taco. What is your name? Cheryl Russo. Nice to meet you. We are here at John Deaton for Senate as we are trying to sort of fight against Elizabeth Warren for the state of Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Where are you located in the world? You're here in Austin. So, what is your title, John Deaton?
I think John Deaton was actually hearing a podcast. Fellow gentleman up here, Scott Walker, started talking about it. Got me really interested.
Yeah.
Following some of these guys for a little bit. I think what they're saying, everything with a grain of salt. So when Scott mentioned John Deaton, I was pretty excited about it. I started looking into it a little bit. First time out there, essentially, and kind of new to the blockchain and crypto community.
Okay. All right.
Obviously, this is an important. This is something important. I think that crypto, blockchain, Web3 is going to be one of the most important things that's happening to society.
Yeah.
And whether we like it or not, it's happening. And John's on the forefront of that.
Well, so you said some of the things that like Scott and the way John were talking, like sort of, what was one thing that sort of struck out at you that maybe made it feel really important to touch home? Like, this is someone I could support, even though I'm not there. I can't vote for him. I can show up. What was one of those things?
Shit, I'll support that.
Okay. All right.
As little as I know, and as much as fucking research as I've done, he absolutely has been railing against the American dream. And I think a lot of people have blinders on right now. They hear all this happy quality talk, but really, what's more equitable than blockchain, crypto, Bitcoin? I mean, there's really nothing more than that. Have a politician go out there and rail against it.
Exactly.
It's pretty bullshit.
Okay. Awesome. Joel, thank you so much for talking tonight. And I know you have to get going, but thank you for taking the time. You know? All right. All right. We'll see you on the flip side.
How do I find it?
Twitter? Yes. Player One Taco. Oh, really? Yes. Player One? Yes. The number one.
Yeah, I was yeah, I'll leave
All right. Yeah. Ready on hop on camera live? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here at the John Deaton Center, and we have one of the coolest people that I got to meet during the SBF trials, Carlo D'Angelo, also known as the DeFi defense lawyer. All right, so how long have you been a DeFi defense lawyer?
So I've been a criminal defense lawyer for over 25 years. I started trading crypto in 2018, 2019, small stuff.
Yep.
And then really started to get into it with the NFT boom early 2021. Started experimenting with NFTs, digital assets, became fascinated by it, but at the same time saw that a lot of people were making really reckless decisions in the space. And I knew that not only was I needed in this space as far as learning it, understanding it, supporting the technology, but also to help people who might be getting themselves over their skis, either in criminal circumstances or regulatory circumstances.
Yeah. No, so, you know, you're based where in the world?
I'm in East Texas.
Okay, so obviously you cannot vote for John Deaton, but what is one of the things about John Deaton that stands out for you that you felt that you had to come and show up for John?
So I've had the pleasure of being on campus on forum spaces with John and listening to him talk. I'm also familiar with his background and his experience.
Yep.
I also know that what is happening right now with respect to the Democrat Party and its stance on crypto is unsustainable because it is driving innovation out of this country and it is stifling innovation and it is ceding that innovation to other countries. This is not in our political best interest. So we need a candidate who can actually be a viable contender. John Deaton is that candidate because he's got the background, the character, the experience, and the work ethic. And he could not have timed this better because if you look at what's happening right now in the crypto space, we have just hit the flip of the switch, when now the political narrative has turned. Trump has voiced his support. Whether he delivers or not on any of those promises, it doesn't matter. The conversation's been opened up, and we're going to finally get serious attention from the people in Washington.
And not only that, but like by Trump voicing his support, it makes his followers be like, oh, that might not be as bad as I thought it was, based off of mass media and stuff like that. So I was a little mean to John today during his speech at Consensus. I threw him a curveball, and I brought up California Senate Bill 1047, the new law the new bill that they're putting in to limit GPU access for mainstream people, general public usage of like AI and stuff like that. And so John really takes a stance of decentralization and everything like that, or self-ownership. And so I sort of wanted to throw that on his plate to see if he's thought about it. And he's like, I haven't complained about that. I haven't had a chance to because focusing on a lot of other things. Have you? It is. He's doing an amazing job, and he's covering a lot of different things in his home state of Massachusetts. Where do you see John's? And I know you might be putting words in his mouth or something like that, and we're not trying to. But where do you think you'll find his stance in AI and like open AI and decentralized AI and stuff like that?
Very, very correctly stated on stage that we need to stop the cycle of poverty in this country. He doesn't want to be the last generation to come out of the impoverished inner city environment. He wants to see his children and other people's children have that same opportunity and generations to come in this country. And it's very clear that we're losing that American dream. There is no denying that AI presents a fundamental threat to the workforce. It is going to reshape how we do things, and it's learning and it's growing faster than anyone could have imagined. So there has to be, just like in crypto, there has to be rails, there has to be regulation in order to manage the growth. The reason you see so much resistance from the Democrats when it comes to crypto is because they know it's not stoppable, but they just want to slow it down long enough that they can meaningfully regulate it. Now, we have a difference of opinion as to what that meaningful regulation is, obviously. But when it comes to crypto, it is no different, because if you take a technology that is probably going to be more disruptive than any other technology we've ever seen, it is going to completely engulf what we saw during the Industrial Revolution. And it's going to happen fast, and it's going to displace a lot of sectors of the employment community. You need to regulate that responsibly. So I think he'll be practical. I think, not speaking for him obviously, but I think he'll be a pragmatist, because I think he'll understand, because of his tech background, we can't stop this. We can't lose this to more powerful, dangerous nations. We have to embrace it, we have to regulate it, and we have to make sure that we deploy it safely.
No, and we'll see a lot of the different things. And so, you and me, we're both heavy in crypto Twitter and stuff like that. And so, like, we've had RFK today sort of talking about that, like, if he doesn't make his vote or he doesn't win, he'll vote for Trump even. And we'll see, outside of Elizabeth Warren, John Deaton, what other states? I've been trying to scratch my brain. Outside of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, are there other states that are going on where there might be some good key fights that people should be paying attention to that you know of?
I haven't looked at the issue that closely, but politicians follow trends. They're seeing right now where you have Biden actually reaching out to the crypto community saying, hey, how can I better engage with you? I know, let's hire a director of memes. I need more fundraising on the crypto side. That's going to trickle down to the grassroots, smaller races, because these candidates are going to look and say, oh, okay, these people can flip the narrative. These people can actually change things. I need to communicate with these people. So I think you don't necessarily have to see specific races around the country. I think you have to have an overall change in the narrative. which I think is what's happening now.
Yeah, and you sort of touched on it. And me, I'm a little bit of more of a pessimist on where I feel like the Biden administration and stuff like that. I think that they just finally realized we're leaving money on the table. You know, and we've seen as Trump's opened up his super PACs now accept crypto. We saw the MAGA token that was donated like $300 back in like September is now worth $3.5 million. Where does something like that change in maybe regulations of like assets? Like if I were to give you $300 today of a crypto and it's sitting in your guys' wallet and stuff like that, and you wait for 5 months to finally cash it out to pay for something, but it's now worth $3 million. Where is it? Can it still, obviously with a super PAC, it's different than a politician, but that seems uncharted to me. I don't know.
It is uncharted. I haven't given much thought to that. It's a very interesting issue that you're raising. But I think governments, especially when it comes to elections, they definitely want to control where people's money is coming from and be able to watch people's money. And that's why candidates have to follow very strict rules when it comes to who they get donations from. Crypto does bring a different aspect to that because it goes back to the whole KYC, AML argument that we've been talking about for years now. So it is going to be interesting how this all plays out. You also mentioned meme culture. I see people launching meme coins and saying that they're going to devote so much of the mint, or they're going to tax the token to make political contributions. This is complete Wild West. None of this is regulated. There is obviously great power in memes. They are tremendous. People love to get around them and unify. Tokenizing memes only takes it to the next level.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're going to stop it, but I do think you're going to see a lot of regulation down on it, especially now that it's really becoming mainstream.
Yeah. No, and memes I think hit home. Just at a lizard brain level. Pictures being the first form of communication, and we've actually, which is sort of funny in the meme culture. Yeah, we've seen like almost like the degradation of art to like sort of make fun of the meme culture to be a meme, with like Geo Bowden, Tramp, and like all of these other things, and it's an interesting take on it, and so we'll see what sort of moves on. It's just it's an interesting time. Any last things you want to say to anyone?
Yeah, I love you. I love following your stuff. I really enjoy seeing you. It's a pleasure. And I'm sure I'll see you again at the conference. See you again. Peace, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Perfecto. So we are going to bring this to a close as this starts to wrap up and everything. We're going to be heading over to Karate Combat to see that going on. But a huge shout out to John Deaton and everyone on the XRP Army. If you guys can give this shout out for John, it's Deaton for Senate. If you can make a donation of any kind, whether it's $1, $2, 50 cents, 1 XRP, it doesn't matter. This is a fight that matters to stop Elizabeth Warren. There's not a lot more that's more important than that right now. But this is one of those small things where you can make a contribution that will go a long way. And or even a like and a share and a retweet. Get John out there and see everyone that is trying to make a difference, not just in crypto, but for the individual that follows the ethos of doing what's right. So we will see you around. As always, closed mouth cannot be fed, and you cannot feed a closed mouth. Meaning, if no one knows you're looking for opportunity, opportunity can never come a knocking. If opportunity does come knocking and no one answers, it's going to keep on walking. And with that, we end with the greatest, worst knock joke on the face of the earth. And that is knock knock. Who's there?